He wasn't supposed to be here. Jake Paul, a YouTuber who once filmed pranks and vlogs, now finds himself standing across the ring from one of the most dangerous punchers in modern boxing. On the other side is Gervonta Tank Davis, a man whose fists have ended fights in the blink of an eye, a world champion in multiple divisions, feared by even seasoned professionals. Yet somehow, these two completely different fighters are about to collide in an exhibition fight streamed worldwide on Netflix. The size difference is staggering, the hype is deafening, and the question everyone is asking is simple: who really has the better chance to win? But to answer that, we need to dig far deeper than just height, weight, and reach. Because this isn't just a fight, it's a clash of cultures, money, ego, and two wildly different paths that led them here. And once you peel back the layers, the story becomes even stranger than it first appears. The rise of Jake Paul. Just a few years ago, the idea of Jake Paul sharing a ring with a fighter like Gervonta Davis would have sounded laughable. Jake began as a Disney Channel star and vlogger, building a massive online empire by making over-the-top content. But in 2018, he decided to lace up the gloves. What started as a gimmick fight against another influencer turned into something much bigger. Jake didn't just dabble in boxing, he obsessed over it. He hired professional trainers, sparred with real fighters, and built a reputation for actually taking the sport seriously. Then came the victories, beating former NBA player Nate Robinson, knocking out former MMA champion Ben Askren, and going the distance with Tommy Fury, the brother of heavyweight king Tyson Fury. But more importantly, Jake became a pay-per-view attraction. Whether people tuned in to see him win or desperately hoped to see him lose, the numbers proved one thing: Jake Paul is a draw. And in boxing, being a draw means power. Still, there's a problem. All of Jake's wins came against athletes outside their prime or opponents not known for boxing first. Against an elite, pound-for-pound boxer, that's a challenge he hasn't truly faced. And that's exactly what makes Tank Davis a terrifying opponent. Because while Jake was learning the ropes, Tank was born into them. But more on that in a moment. Who exactly is Tank? If Jake Paul is the entertainer-turned-boxer, then Gervonta Davis is the fighter's fighter. Born and raised in Baltimore, Tank came up the hard way. He was thrown into the gym as a kid, trained under Coach Calvin Ford, and sharpened himself into a weapon. His reputation quickly grew, not just because he won, but because of how he won. Tank has a record most fighters dream of: 30 wins, 28 knockouts, and only one draw. Almost every time he steps in the ring, it ends the same way, with his opponent staring up at the lights. His nickname, Tank, isn't just about power. It's about his relentless style. He presses forward, stays compact, and delivers explosive combinations that can drop even the toughest competitors. But what makes Tank truly dangerous isn't just his raw punching power. It's his patience. He'll stalk opponents, waiting for the smallest mistake, then unleash a counterpunch so precise and so devastating that the fight is over in an instant. Fighters describe his power as different. Coaches call his timing perfect. The problem: Tank fights at lightweight, around 135 pounds. Jake Paul, on the other hand, fights around cruiserweight or even heavyweight, close to 200 pounds. That's a 65-pound gap. In boxing terms, that's the Grand Canyon. So how do you even compare the two? To answer that, we have to explore what weight really means in a fight.
The weight gap that changes everything. On paper, the fight looks like a mismatch. Jake Paul is taller, longer, heavier, and used to fighting much bigger men. Tank Davis, for all his skill, is a small fighter in comparison. The average lightweight has to gain weight just to spar with someone Jake's size. In boxing history, size has always mattered. Bigger fighters can absorb more punishment, throw heavier shots, and use their reach to keep smaller fighters at bay. That's why weight classes exist, to keep things fair. But here's the catch: skill can often neutralize size. Think about Manny Pacquiao, who climbed through 8 different divisions, beating men much larger than himself. Think about Floyd Mayweather, who made bigger opponents miss and pay. Tank Davis has that kind of talent. His explosiveness could allow him to dart inside Jake's reach and land shots most others couldn't. But the risk? If Jake lands just one heavy punch, Tank's smaller frame might not handle it the same way a lightweight would. So while Jake's size is his greatest weapon, it also sets the stage for one of the biggest questions in this fight. Can skill overcome raw size and power? Or will Jake's physical advantages finally overwhelm someone who relies on speed and precision? But size isn't the only thing at play here, because when you dig into the business behind this fight, the motivations of both men start to reveal even more about their chances. The business of spectacle. This fight isn't sanctioned as a professional bout. It's an exhibition, meaning it won't affect either man's official record. That's important because it changes how they might approach it. Without the pressure of rankings or belts, the fight becomes about two things: money and entertainment. For Jake Paul, this is nothing new. He's built his career on spectacle fights. He knows how to sell drama, stir headlines, and make people care. Every time Jake steps into the ring, the cameras are ready and the storylines are already written. He thrives in chaos. Tank Davis, however, is stepping into something different. He's fought on the biggest stages in boxing, pay-per-view headliners, sold-out arenas, but never in this kind of crossover event. For him, this fight isn't about proving he's a great boxer. That's already established. This is about crossing over into the mainstream. It's about showing millions of casual fans what he can do against one of the most recognizable internet stars in the world. That dynamic matters, because when money and showmanship are on the line, fighters sometimes adjust their strategies. Tank may not need to risk everything to prove a point. Jake, on the other hand, might see this as his one shot to shock the world by hurting a real champion, even in an exhibition setting. And when one fighter has more to prove, it can shift the odds in unexpected ways. But proving yourself in the ring is about more than just business. It's also about psychology. And in that department, both fighters have unique edges.
The psychology of fighters. Jake Paul has one of the thickest skins in sports. He's been booed, ridiculed, and doubted since his very first fight. Yet, every time, he walks forward. That kind of mental resilience is rare. Jake doesn't break under pressure. He feeds off it. His confidence, whether real or performative, often unsettles opponents before the first punch is thrown. Tank Davis, however, is built from a different mold. His composure inside the ring is legendary. Watch him fight, and you'll notice something. He never panics. Even when he loses rounds, even when he looks behind, he waits calmly for his moment. His poker face never changes, and his belief in his own power makes him dangerous at every second. This fight will be as much mental as physical. If Jake can disrupt Tank's rhythm, make him uncomfortable with size and aggression, the upset becomes possible. But if Tank stays composed, waits for Jake to overextend, the fight could end suddenly and violently in his favor. And psychology isn't just about the fighters. It's also about the fans. Because in this matchup, the court of public opinion could be just as influential as the punches thrown inside the ring. The hype machine. There's a reason Netflix is backing this fight. It's not just about who wins. It's about how many people watch. Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis is a cultural moment, a blending of internet celebrity and legitimate championship talent. For the audience, it's not just about boxing. It's about curiosity. Fans of Jake want to see if their guy can shock the world once again. Fans of Tank want to see him demolish an outsider who dares step into his world. And casual viewers, they're just tuning in because the mismatch is too bizarre to ignore. The hype machine feeds both fighters. Every headline, every press conference, every stare down builds anticipation. And in boxing, hype often translates into advantage. Fighters who thrive in chaos sometimes find ways to pull off the impossible. But once the lights go down and the bell rings, all the noise fades. And that's where the real question comes into focus. Who truly has the better chance to win when fists start flying? Who really has the edge? So, Jake Paul versus Gervonta Tank Davis. Who's got the better chances? On paper, Jake's size and strength are undeniable. He's younger, bigger, and has experience fighting larger men. If he lands clean, especially against a much smaller opponent, it could be enough to cause an upset, even in an exhibition.
But skill, timing, and experience are on Tank's side. He's a world-class champion, a knockout artist with decades of trying behind him. If Jake overcommits, if he makes even one mistake, Tank has the precision to end it instantly. In truth, this isn't a traditional fight. It's a spectacle, an experiment that asks whether raw size can overcome elite skill or whether greatness can shine through even in an uneven matchup. The truth is, both men win in different ways. Jake wins if he survives, competes, or shocks the world with even a single moment of dominance. Tank wins if he shows the world why skills, honed over a lifetime, will always be bigger than size. And on November 15th, when these two finally step into the ring, the world will get its answer.